Oh boy, Hail and Matches Kingdom, welcome to Path of Exile 2. It's me, Spot the King, and today I will give you insane warrior build. It's insanely cool. I will show this massive skill tree and will explain everything you need to destroy campaign, one-shot enemies through the wall acts from Act 1 to Act 3 cruel difficulty, as insanely cool, fun to play and also devastating warrior. It will be Titan warrior build if you're interested. And I guess let's go. The main combination you saw in the beginning of this video will be available to you when you go to the finish of Act 2, and the full combination will be from the beginning of Act 3 actually. And that's why I think one of the most important parts of this video is our beginning of the game, Act 1 and Act 2, how to destroy them and one-shot everyone. First of all, let's take a look at our skills. The first skill we are using is Rolling Slam. It's a combination of two slams of your mace to the ground. Important to know, you can change direction of second strike. It's very useful against some types of enemies, and also you can animation cancel with your rolls. So don't forget, if you're in trouble, you can just cancel it out with a roll, no matter what moment of animation is right now. This skill is your bread and butter of the beginning of the game. Basically what you want to do is you want to just go and roll on your enemies. You want to travel through the map with this skill. Since it's area of effect attack, it will attack multiple enemies and you don't need to waste your time by trying to destroy them one by one. You just go, roll and destroy everyone in one skill. That's it, and that's basically how you want to play in early game. It's a great ability to build up stun meter on your enemies, and they will be primed for the big heavy stun. So to activate heavy stun we get another ability, it's called Bone Shatter. Ability is just a basic swing, and you don't need to know anything about this ability besides when to use it. You will see this white glow on enemy heads, this means they primed for stun, and then you can activate this ability to stun them. Most of the time it's a lot faster to use this ability instead of normal attacks to stun enemies, and you want this heavy stuns anyway. The biggest problem for warrior is armored enemies. You will see yellow armor icon on enemy heads, this means you need to break this armor. And that's where next skill comes, Armor Breaker. That's a basic attack, you will swing your mace and you will break enemy's armor. You will see how it breaks. The number will get up until armor will fully break, and then you will deal significantly more damage with your physical attacks. It won't last long, but still it's a very nice and useful ability against bosses, especially in early game. Sad part, the skill doesn't do really good damage and it's useful only to amplify damage that you will inflict after. So it's not very useful against basic enemies, but still it's nice to have against some bosses, and you will definitely find a use for this ability. Another one I'm using mostly for utility stuff is Shockwave Totem. So this totem is basically a totem that will attract some enemies, and you will most likely use it to attract them from some positions to get them in one place and then crush them. And last but not least ability that will help you especially in early game is our buff. Yeah, you will unlock buff ability after completing some quests in Act 1. It will use Spirit to activate, and while active, enemies we are overkilling will cause explosions that will ignite nearby enemies based on overkill damage dealt. It's very useful to deal versus hordes of enemies. If not one-shotting enemies nearby, they will basically deal some damage to other guys and they will finish them off with ignition. And of course we need to empower these abilities with support gems. So Brutality is the first support gem we want to use. It will deal 35% more physical damage. It's very important to know that more is a lot better than increased, because increased is just additional damage, while more is kinda multiplicative damage. So Brutality will make abilities or even basic attacks deal more physical damage, but will deal no chaos or no elemental damage. That's very important to understand, because if you got some nice mace that dealing some good elemental damage at this point, maybe some mace with additional fire damage, then definitely don't use brutality. But if you got just basic mace with just physical damage, then brutality is your pick. Another good one is Execute. You will deal 40% more damage with hits against enemies that are on low life. That's a great stuff to finish off enemies with our double rolling slam. The next one is Rage. Rage is pretty cool, it will give you 3 rage on melee hit, and Rage is also multiplicative addition. Rage gives us 1% more damage per rage charge, so you just do one attack and next attack will deal 3% more damage. Also, it's nice to have Overpower in one of your abilities. Hits with these abilities will cause more stun build up, so you can insert it in a rolling slam, for example, do a lot of stun build up, then activate heavy stun with your crush ability and continue rolling slamming with extra attack. And yeah, if your mace, for example, got a lot of fire damage, then definitely Fire Fusion is your choice. Fire Infusion will deal 25 extra fire damage, but less cold and lightning damage. Depending on type of your mace you got in early game, pick one of these and insert in rolling slam or in your basic attack and combine them to defeat bosses, and you will basically destroy Act 1 easily with the right passive skill tree. When you level up a little bit, maybe you will get bored of these rolling slams, and there is nice substitution for this skill. Leap Slam. It's insane jumping ability, very fun to use. You will just jump into the air and crush your enemies. This skill already got nice stun build up, nice impact radius, and if enemy's armor is broken right now, it will cause 500% more stun build up. So pretty nice to stun bosses after you break their armor, and also it's very nicely used to travel through the map. You can jump through spots where you should not be able to jump other ways. And if you completely got bored of these slams and jumps, actually at this point of the game you can even just use Martial Tempo Support Gem that will give you more attack speed and just basic attack speed, and just activate it on your Mace Strike. Yeah, Mace Strike will have insane DPS with this, because maces most of the time got insane damage, but pretty low attack speed, and this will give you a lot higher attack speed, a lot higher damage per second, and also you can insert a rage on this, and you will deal a lot of damage just by standing and swinging with your mace. Don't forget, rage is multiplicative stuff, it gives more attack damage per one rage, so it gives you just a lot more damage with basic physical attacks. So you should have basic idea of what is our strategy right now, but what weapons and what armors you should go for. Basically, again, most important stuff for you is your weapon. There is no other two-handed weapons in the game right now beside maces, so you can't go wrong with two-handed mace, of course. What you're looking for is a fully stacked mace with a lot of physical damage, something like this. It's pretty good and insanely powerful, but also it's very nice to have a little bit of accuracy, especially when you're advancing through the game. You will start noticing that your warrior starts to miss enemies somewhere around Act 3. So make sure to cover accuracy stat in your build with maybe rings or bonuses from your weapon, of course. While this mace is cool, I used Miracle Temple Maul with a lot of elemental damage infused. So it's pretty fun mace, and it also got ability to ignite my targets because I'm doing fire damage, and it's pretty fun to use. So I beat the game through the Act 2, Act 3 and Act 1 Cruel just with this mace of level 28. Just make sure you found some good mace with a lot of extra damage bonuses and you will be good to go. About armor, it's pretty easy and straightforward. We're leveling only strength in this build, so basically you're looking for any armor, helmet, gloves or boots that need strength requirement and only strength requirement. It will give you a lot of armor, it means it will lower basic physical damage by a lot when you get a lot of armor, and your defenses will be covered if you get your resistances up high enough. Make sure you have at least 30% resistances, it's more than enough for campaign, but actually you want to have them as high as possible, of course. And 50% armor is what you're looking for to defeat campaign basic. First 3 acts, of course. On Cruel you need more armor and more resistance. And now let's take a look at this massive skill tree. So, that's how we start the game. Basically, we got two choices, and there's armor and also damage. With this build, we're just focusing on damage only. You actually don't need anything. You got basically two choices, because only one objective for you in this game is to survive actually. And you can survive by getting more armor, of course, but come on, we can survive by one-shotting enemies as you see on the screen right now. And basically we're starting with increasing melee damage rune, and then we getting increased melee damage once again, once again, once again, once again, and once again. So this part basically gives us a lot of melee damage, but also at the end will give us stun build up, which is also nice. With some additional strength, we basically will be able to build up stun a lot faster, stun our enemies, stun bosses, and deal massive damage while they doing nothing and standing still. Yeah. And here we're moving forward, of course, to the left part of skill tree to increase melee damage again. Then we get 20% increase in melee damage, and also 40% increase melee damage against heavy stunned enemies. So heavy stun, you already know what is it. You just need to use a right skill to heavy stun enemy, and then you will have insane amount of additional damage against this guy. Then we get 10% increased melee damage and 8% increased melee damage. Then we will get in strength runes. So here is an optional pass, and you just need to keep this in mind. From the brutal part, there is 15% increase armor. So 15% is a lot better than just plus 20 armor from here from the start. That's why I never get this plus 20 armor. Plus 15% is just insanely better. When you get your total armor to like 120, you're already getting more. And another way to increase your armor is sturdy metal. 80% increase armor from equipped body armor. So if you got some crazy body armor equipped, that's a nice part. Now, see where we are right now. We are here, and that's where we're going. We're going to the bottom part, getting strength, and moving to the bottom left, basically. Getting strength one more time. So it's just 3 levels, and then you don't need to waste any more time by going forward on the skill tree. Because our main weapon will be two-handed weapon, we're just going over here instantly and getting increased damage with two-handed weapons, increase damage with two-handed weapons once again, and it's 12% each for a total of 24% increase. Then we're getting a little bit more, 36% increase, and then 48% increased damage with two-handed weapons. Yeah, not by only this rune over here, but by wall 3. And then final will be 5 reduced attack speed, and yeah, that's kinda problem with maces. You will always reduce attack speed with them too, but you will have increased stun build up by 20% and 40% increased damage with two-handed weapons. This basically gives you ability to one-shot enemies at the early game. Let's get back a little bit. That's level 6, level 10, and basically at around level like 15 you will be able to one-shot everyone. Yeah, you will do like few quests here and there, and you will be able to get here a lot faster. So around level 10 you're basically one-shotting enemies in Act 1 like without any problem. But as you can see, this part of the tree got 2 parts, left and right. If we go to the right, we will get increased damage, just 12%, and then 30% increased area of effect if you've stunned an enemy with two-handed melee weapon recently. And recently refers to the past 4 seconds, so just in case you didn't know. And we don't want to go to the right side yet, so yeah, just ignore it, and you want to continue your way forward to get more strength over here and more strength over here, and then one more node in strength. So here we will stop. That's where we are on the tree right now. And that's basically Act 2. You will start noticing that you're losing damage a little bit and stopped one-shotting enemies, and that's where this awful state of warrior will end. Basically we're going over here and getting reduced attack speed with 12% increased damage, then 1 reduced attack speed with 15% increased attack damage, again 15 attack damage, and then 5% reduced attack speed with 30% increased stun build-up and 50% increased attack damage. That's crazy how much attack damage we're getting right here, right now. And again, from this part you basically will crush Act 2 easily. And if we zoom out a little bit, as you can see, I got a lot of nodes and runes got over here forward. Basically, when we're going forward, we got a lot of stuff here. But you don't need to get it right away. Instead we want to get back here to strength, and that's where we're going. one note on top, one more note in strength, and basically you get in strength only, and just in case you need a little bit more dexterity or intelligence for extra runes, extra support gems, yeah, of course you can pick this, but base build idea is to go strength only. So after this part, basically that's increase melee damage 10%, once again increased melee damage, once again, so 30% increased melee damage over here, and then go forward to have 20% increased melee damage against immobilized enemies. So we got nice stun build up, you will immobilize enemies a lot. Frozen, pinned, heavy stunned, electrocuted enemies considered basically immobilized, so 20% more damage against these stunned bosses helps a lot in Act 2 against really like heavy bosses. Then once again, and then once again, we get into the top, getting 25% increased armor if you've hit an enemy with a melee attack recently. So this also will give us a lot of survivability in this area and at this time of the game, and we will have 50% increased melee damage against immobilized enemies at the end. So that's a juicy part over here. Also, we can get this later and get 30% increased stun build up, 15% increased area of effect if you have stunned an enemy recently. So that's a great part for our next and coolest combination we will get later in the game. But that's basically how you start, and with this setup you will easily get to the Act 2. Of course you will level a little bit more, so that's where we are on the skill tree right now, and that's where we're going next. Basically we're going over here and continue our way forward to get more strength. Then we're learning Gerald socket, and I got increased damage with maces over here. You can have anything you like, more damage, more attack speed, something like this will work. And then one more point in top note to get more strength. So here we got a right and left part. I don't think you need a right part yet, and I actually finished Act 2 without learning this stuff, but right part will be for survivability. I got increased armor here, 15%, and it's increasing our armor a lot at this act, so you don't need to craft a lot of gear, and basically it will be really nice and tanky. Also 10% increased life regeneration. I like to stack a lot of life regen, so we can survive a hit and heal a lot more faster, and also then we will have mate to last. So 15% of physical damage prevented, recouped as life. Basically when we take in physical damage we will have a lot of it getting back to us, so it helps a lot. But Act 2 is scary actually, with a lot of elemental damage, so you don't need it early in the game. But what I really recommend you to have is going to the left part and getting increased damage with maces, 14%, one more time, 14% with maces, and then we got split the earth, so it's 10% chance to aftershock for slam skills you use with maces, and basically and for strike skills. So basically what does it mean? It means that you will be able to, once upon a time, one from 10 skills you use will basically activate 2 times, and it will create double explosion or double shatter, something like this. So it's cool, but also there is top part, and we got here 18% increased stun build up, more stun build up, and then 20% more damage against heavy stunned enemies with maces, and then 10% increased damage with maces with increased stun build up, and 15% increased damage with maces. So that's a nice like damage part over here we can get a lot of, but I don't think this 8% chance to aftershock for slam skills is actually useful, so definitely don't learn it. And that's our early game. Basically that's what we want to have before we get to our combination. The combination is so cool that you won't be able to stop playing. So first skill will be Sunder. Yeah, you need to level up a little bit to unlock the skill, but it's definitely worth it. Basically what you're doing is you're slamming the ground, creating a rolling fissure that damages enemy in a sequence of areas in front of you. Basically you're just creating a big wave that dealing some damage, and that's pretty powerful wave. But the coolest part about the skill is that it will consume fully broken armor on enemies to guarantee a critical hit, so you basically will have 100% critical hit chance with this ability, if you can find a way how to constantly break enemies' armor, and there's a way. But first of all, let's learn our support gems for this ability. First of all, you want to increase its power. Basically, anything like Fire Infusion, if you're using Fire Mace, will work, but it's really hard to scale in the late game. So it's better to scale just physical damage and use something like Brutality to increase your basic damage overall with basic physical mace. Since armor is not a problem and we will have a way how to destroy armor constantly. My favorite socket for this ability is Magnified Effect. It's intelligence socket, but it gives 40% more area of effect. It's really nicely scales with other area of effect buffs that we will have on our passive skill tree, and it creates really magnified and big thunders to destroy our enemies. Combine this gem with Fist of War. Fist of War is insane. It will empower your attack with ancestrally... Wow, how to pronounce this stuff? Basically, it will boost your attack with Ancestral Burst and it will give us 20% more damage and area of effect. Funniest part, we got so many damage boosters on our passive skill tree that we don't need any rolling slams no more. Basically, our main ability from this point of the game will be Mace Strike. All mana will be used for Sunder, while Mace Strike will be used to make great combination with it. So basic attack. How to make it insanely overpowered. Right now we don't care about attack speed, but we care to build up stun a lot, so Restless is a great supportive gem. Every 5th attack will give you 500% more stun build up. Combine it with other stun build-ups and you will basically stun enemies in few hits, but honestly it's not really needed, especially when you just beaten the campaign for the first time. Enemies are not that defended against stuns most of the time. Basically, what I really suggest you to have is to find Devastate gem, because that's how you can finish the combination. Sadly, it's level 2 support gem, so you need to buy it on market or find it from other players if you're just starting out, or you will find it towards end of Act 2. Don't worry, it's totally viable. Even without this gem you got insanely overpowered melee machine, but Devastate will break armor when you inflict a heavy stun. And by picking Titan Ascendancy, we level up this skill, Crushing Impacts. Our hits will be considered Crushing Blows, and Crushing Blows causing heavy stun when enemies are primed for stun. That completely breaks basic attack, so you just make one hit, it will prime enemy for stun and instantly stun them. At the same time, with Devastate it will break enemy armor, and this means our awesome Sunder will deal a guaranteed critical hit. To make sure we can stun enemies a lot more often, we're using new buff, Overwhelming Presence. It will lower the threshold of enemy stun, so basically we will stun them more often, and we add in support gem to it, Vitality. Vitality will give you life regeneration, which is really great to keep you healthy. When you level up a little bit, we will break this combination even more with Seismic Cry. It deals some damage, but if you hit with this ability heavy stunned enemy, your next slam is empowered to perform additional aftershock. We will be able to deal 2 critical striked thunders at the same time. But we will break this combination even more with the correct picks on our passive skill tree. So now we get our broken combination. We basically one-shot everyone, bosses, normal enemies and guys who stand in our way. What we do now? Basically now we get the plan over here. First of all, we can get back to this two-handed damage, and that's what we get in here. We get more increased damage with two-handed weapons, and then we get in shockwaves. 30% increase area of effect if you stunned an enemy with a two-handed melee weapon recently. So now you get an idea. We stun an enemy and our combination starts with enemy stunned. So this means we will have insane area of effect for our Shatter spell, and it's basically destroying the whole screen of enemies in one hit. So this completely breaks our combination, we will become insanely overpowered, and then what I started to notice towards the end of Act 3 is lack of survivability. So increasing a little bit more armor is a great idea in my opinion. Some life regeneration and physical damage prevented as life will be recouped. There's also more options to increase more armor and more life regeneration if you think you need it, and there's 100% bonus of strength requirements from boots, gloves and helmets will be added to our armor. So at this point of the game it will be around like 250 in Act 3 basically, but that's a strong rune for later in my opinion. What really I like and what I got towards end of Act 3, and I call it quality of life and a lot more fun. So I went to the top basically and I went over here. Look where we are on the tree right now, so that's where we are. And why we are here? Here we got nice runes. First of all, 20% increase armor if you've been hit recently. We will be hit a lot of time, enemies will hit us a lot, so 20% increase armor is just great buff for us. Then 5% increase attack speed if you've been hit recently. Again, that's great, enemies will hit us, we will attack a lot faster from this point. One more of attack speed and then 12% increase attack speed if you've been hit recently. We're basically countering our problems with maces. So maces debuffs with minus attack speed will be completely gone at this point of the game, and we will enjoy life a lot more with heavy hitting a lot faster. And also more armor if we've been hit recently. So other parts will be with torn damage, we don't need torn damage. And that's basically the build to destroy campaign first time. So that's not cruel difficulty, that's basic difficulty. And now let's talk about Endgame. So how we level up in Endgame and what we get as our options. There's actually many options we can go for, but here's the sum of them. So from this point we can get right here and get rage when hit. So enemy will hit us, we get rage, more rage when hit, more rage when hit, and then 5 rage when hit. For a total of 2, it's 6, and then it will be 5. So 11 rage when hit by an enemy. Also, every rage will grant 1 increased armor at this point. So we will get a lot of survivability here. So we will just go, we're being hit, we get insane amount of damage, and we destroy enemies in one single shot. So another smart runes will be here. That's where we are on the tree. And it's insanely smart and overpowered part. So we get an attack critical damage, 15% increased critical damage bonus for attack damage. Don't forget, spells are not attacks, but Sunder is not a spell basically, it's attack actually. So technically you will get this damage bonus to these attacks, and since it's critical 100% of the time, that's just great. We will increase in stun build up with critical hits, which is great, so our Sunder will be able to stun basically everyone who is behind our initial target. Then we get in more critical damage bonus, and then we can get more critical damage bonus for attack damage, stun build up with critical hits, and more chance to critical hit for basic attacks and for skill attacks of course, but it's also useful for just basically button mashing with our normal attack without using skills. So next up, from the Jewel location over here, I like to go to the bottom right, get attribute point, and then we get in reduced maximum mana. 5% is not a big deal, but we get in 12 strength, and we get in same here and same here, followed by 10% reduced maximum mana with 1% increased damage per 15 strength. It's pretty late gameish situation. We will have like probably with the gear and stuff like around 200, maybe like even more strength, and we will have nice damage increase, so it will be like around 15% already. And if you will go for these runes, then don't forget, we got a really quick pass for another strength runes, and they're really great. It will be over here, so we're going down, plus 8 strength, 25 strength, 8 strength, 8 strength, 8 strength. So total 57 strength over here for just few levels, and it will increase our damage a lot. Also, I like to go to the top right from this part to get 15% increased armor and defend with 200% of armor against critical hits. So that's really good for maps and other like crazy monsters who will be in the late game that will be able to critical hit you a lot. So protection from critical hits is great. So basically what we got is an option. First option, we can play Rage. As you can see, there's a lot of Rage nearby. Stoppage of Rage loss basically, so we get a little bit of Rage loss stoppage that will also start later, and more maximum Rage at the same time. From the strength nodes, we got 1 rage on melee hit, basically a lot of rage on melee hit, and a little bit of chance to gain rage to the maximum on melee hit. So that's a great buff for us. And from here we can get to this part by just spending 3 points in attribute points. We're getting rage on melee hit 3 times, and then a loss of rage will be slower. Rage is insane, it's really powerful stuff, and definitely for more damage you can go with rage. So since we got a lot of strength, there is another option, and we can go to the bottom right 2 times, getting a little bit of attribute points and getting Giant's Blood. So yeah, we can wield 2-handed axes, maces, swords in one hand. But we will be debuffed with triple attribute requirements of these weapons. So, idea is simple. Basically, when you get these late game-ish weapons, they will have some nice attribute requirements. But if we got insane amount of strength, we won't have any problems with this. And also there's another part over here. So, from this part we can go towards Devil Socket, get the Devil, then get attribute point and Blood Magic. Again, we can completely ignore the cost of spells from this point of the game, so if you're feeling that you need this reduction in costs, sometimes Blood Magic is a good option. But also, it's not only option for us, there's another crazy part. So, attribute bonus here, and here we get insane attack damage 3. Basically, it's just attack damage. 10% attack damage here, 20, 30, and then plus 25. So, 55% over here, 45 over here, for a total like double damage bonus just by picking a few levels in here. That's completely crazy. And basically you can go to the Berserker pass from this way. Just 1 step to the right, and then we get physical damage over here, plus 10, 10, 10, and then 25 physical damage and 5% increased attack and cast speed. So technically from these 2 points you will buff your damage by like completely insane amount. And also there is nice protection nearby. Just on top there is increase of armor when you've been hit, defend with 120% of armor against projectile attacks, which is also nice. And in my opinion, the range of our Sunder spell is insane, but still to the left bar there is nice melee damage at close range, so you will defeat bosses in close range a lot faster. But also there is more area of effect, again very nice. The total bonus will be around like 40% more area, and you will cover the full screen. So, our Ascendancy is Titan, and that's where we go first. We're getting more stun build up over here, and then crushing hits. Crushing hits is just insane. Your hits are crushing blows from now on, and crushing blows means we will cause a heavy stun on enemies that are primed for stun. Basically with any hit we will cause this heavy stun, and this means just with basic hits we will be able to crush enemy armor in just no time with the right support gems, of course, which makes insanely broken and powerful combination. So where to go next, basically, where to go next with your Ascension? Next we can go to the increased stun build up more, and then 40% more damage against heavy stunned enemies. That's just a smart way to deal insane amount of damage over here. And that's how I would start our Ascendancy. But what to do next? Basically, based on our ideation, how we want to continue the game, we got 2 options. First one, if you want to go for double hammers, we need a lot of stats. That's why we want to go for increased strength over here, 20 inventory slots, yeah, that's a weak part, but whatever. Then 4% increase in strength, followed by 50% increased effects of small passive skills. Just by picking passive skills I got 100 strength already, so you can count that from 100 strength we will get basically 150 with 4% increase and 4% increase over here, for a total about like 180. But when you ascend 2 times you actually will have around 200, like 250 strength, especially if you're going for part with a lot of strength over here. So we will get insane amount of strength to be able to wield 2 great weapons in one hand each. But that's a risky move, and instead you can go for more safer way. There is nice regeneration, like small regeneration, 0.5 seconds, 0.5% life per second, but here is 15% more maximum life. That's the great part. Life is insane, survivability tool. You just need to live long enough to like cast at least one spell, and 15% is a lot, especially in the later parts of the game. And the last two parts will be, the last two skills in Ascendancy will be over here. So it will be Slam skill, have 12% increased area of effect, and 20% chance to slam skills to cause aftershocks. So without full combination you will be able to aftershock a lot more time, and with full combination you will be able to make 3 aftershocks a lot more often, which is insane. And that's the like smartest way to ascend your Titan warrior. I hope you enjoyed the build and you will have blast playing it in Path of Exile 2. Make sure to watch other cool builds on the screen right now and see you there.